Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, and today on Record All Monsters, Gamera, kids in monster movies, and monster naming conventions. In 1962, King Kong vs. Godzilla changed everything for giant monster movies. And now, Daiei Studios wanted in on the action. So in 1964, they began work on their first monster epic, Giant Horde Beast Nezura. Not what you were expecting, huh? Giant Horde Beast Nezura was written, miniature sets were built, 6-foot giant rat props were made, and hundreds of live rats were gathered to begin shooting the effect sequences. A publicity campaign was launched by the studio, and people were encouraged to bring rats for 50 yen a head. This was the seed of a big, itchy problem. Most of the rats were white, but special effects director Yonsebaru Tsukiji wanted black rats, so they dyed them black. So the rats licked the dye out of their fur. Fine. What else can go wrong? So much. Just so much more could go wrong. The rats wouldn't move under the electric lights of the studio, so they tried using glow light and high-sensitivity lenses, but that didn't work. Finally, they decided to send a mild electric shock through the miniature sets to get the rats going. Fleas began to leave their hosts and infest the set. From there, they began to infest the studio. And then the rats started to eat each other. That was enough. No more giant rat movie. The rats had won, and Daiei had lost. Part of the problem here was that the studio was in a bit of financial trouble. They were stuck with this elaborate miniature city set now. They couldn't let it go to waste, what with the money problems. So they pivoted and started work on Gamera, the giant monster. Let's talk about Gamera. He's a turtle with big old tusks who breathes fire and flies by shooting flames out of his shell's limb holes. A word I made up just now. You love it. The story goes that either Yonejiro Saito or Masaichi Nagata, both producers at Daiei, one of them was flying back to Tokyo when he saw a cloud that resembled a turtle. Now that Nezura wasn't happening, maybe a giant turtle movie could put those miniatures to use. Helming the new film was sophomore director Noriaki Yuasa, who had directed a musical comedy the previous year and had also been involved in Nezura's production. He wound up directing many of the special effects sequences too. Yuasa wrote the script with Nissan Takahashi, who was credited alone on the finished film, though Yuasa had the clearer vision of what Gamera should be. A giant monster franchise aimed directly and explicitly at children. Like many Western viewers and fans of the Gamera movies, I was introduced to the character through the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes that featured 5 of the films being mocked by Joel and the Bots. I thought the movies seemed like fun, even without the commentary, so I found Mill Creek's 50 Sci-Fi Classics box set at my local Target and went to town. I think 4 Gamera movies were on that set. There's no way of knowing. I watched them all in my bedroom on a portable DVD player, something well out of style even at the time. What struck me the most, and is still very striking to me, is the sincerity of these films. Sure, they began as a cash grab and remained in that spirit, but Noriaki Yuasa clearly loved what he was doing. While the only Showa-era Gamera film he didn't direct is absolutely the best one, it's not as much fun. Well, it's more fun than Gamera Super Monster, but I'm getting ahead of myself. These films are fun, even when they're bad, and that feels like a direct result of someone knowing what kind of movies they were making, and who they were making them for. This particular movie never sinks to the depths of something like Konga, or Godzilla Forbid, the Giant Claw, but it's a pretty basic setup. The really unique thing here is the film's child protagonist, Toshio, who is obsessed with turtles and is like Sean from Gorgo on steroids in terms of story. Whereas Gorgo needs Sean as its voice of reason, Toshio contributes very little to the story in Gamera. That's not necessarily a bad thing, though, and was probably key to Gamera's success. This kid barges into military tribunals, demanding they not hurt Gamera because he had saved his life, and all turtles are good. That's a direct quote from the movie. Of course, this ignores that Gamera created the situation from which Toshio needed to be saved. He's not quite the friend of all children yet. Gamera, like so many movies we have discussed, is derivative. Obviously of Godzilla, yes, but it also recreates the lighthouse setup from The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. And Gorgo is another clear inspiration, with its focus on a child protagonist. And even though it was the last black and white Daikaiju Eiga, the monochrome cinematography hides any shortcomings in the monster suit and effects. Gamera seems like it would have come along too late, doing nothing new 12 years after the genre began in earnest, but it took Japan by storm, and ended Dai's financial woes for the time being. A sequel was planned and given a bigger budget and shot in color, and we'll cover that soon enough. The last thing I want to talk about is the name Gamera itself. I find this information very interesting, and it has to do with Japanese monster naming conventions. Godzilla's name comes from smashing 2 Japanese words together in a portmanteau, gorilla, which means gorilla, and kujira, which means whale. Even though Toho's next few monsters' names were inspired by real-life animals, like Rodan is an abbreviation of Pteranodon, Anguirus of Ankylosaurus, and Varan is derived from the scientific name of a monitor lizard, Mothra begins a trend following after Godzilla's name, using the last syllable, la, to indicate size and power. Think how in the West we use Zilla to indicate something as monstrous. Hogzilla, Bridezilla, etc. Ra came to mean the same thing, more or less. Gamera can be loosely translated as Turtlezilla, since the Japanese word for turtle is kame. Dai modified it to begin with a G, so that their giant monster wasn't named Camera, which is the same word in English as it is in Japanese. Special thanks to Will Laughlin of BrainEater.com, where I initially discovered this info years ago, and a link to that article will be in the description. Gamera would be the only real challenger to Godzilla and his franchise's popularity, but at this point in our story, their rivalry has just begun. Hello, I'm Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters, and this is an ad for Anchor. That's right, it's an ad for Anchor, and if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. I was really intimidated at first to start this show until I heard about Anchor, and there were a few things that made me feel more at ease to begin. First of all, it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so that it can be heard on a number of platforms, including whichever one you're listening to it on right now. You can even make a little money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And even their ads are easy. The mandatory call to action is something I can state freely. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Doesn't that feel good? This has been an ad for Anchor, and I've been Robert Kelly, host and writer of Record All Monsters. Hello, welcome back to Record All Monsters. I'm here once again with Parker and Q, some of our regular guests at this point. And we just watched Gamera, the Giant Monster from 1965.
First time for Q.
Yeah, it was the first time.
So, what do y'all think?
I mean, being a classic, it's good, but I'm more, concerned with Q's impression because he's never seen any of these films.
Yeah, Q, why don't you just tell us what the story of the movie is real quick? Summarize it for us.
Gamera, in this movie, from what I can tell, is just basically an introduction to Gamera and the power that he holds and how he harnesses his power. And it introduces you to everything he can do. He eats fire. I was really tripping when I saw him literally suck his body into a shell and ignite and fly.
Yeah, he didn't believe when I told him that he was jet powered.
Yeah, I was like, no, what? I saw it and I was like, what? I mean, like, in all honesty, like, I knew of Gamera and but I never sat down and watched him because I was like, oh man, it's Godzilla or nothing. But after watching this for my first time, I was like, yeah, Gamera's pretty cool, man. He's pretty ruthless. he does not care. Like, Godzilla gets collateral damage. This is Gamera straight murder. Like, he is looking for people to kill.
Straight up intentional damage.
Yeah, Gamera just. How many people do you think he killed?
That's at least 10K.
Yeah, lots of people died in this movie, and that kid, Toshio, he's just...
Oh man, he's my friend. He's cool.
Toshio don't care either.
I like turtles.
Like, he saved you, Toshio, but he murdered these...
I would say I am looking forward to watching the rest of them.
Yeah, we're going to have a great time with the rest of the Gamera movies. This is, pretty late in our first season. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the Gamera movies are going to be early on in the second season. And they
really looking forward to seeing them.
They just get increasingly bonkers. Like, this one is like maybe a 6 on the.
That was a 6?
That was a 6.
Yeah.
That was a 6.
That was a 6, especially when you have to factor in how far these go.
So you're telling me that ending
Getting sent to space was a 6.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Coming up in the Gamera series, we have a monster that shoots rainbows out of its back. We have a gigantic vampire bat that gets dizzy. We have a kaiju that has a knife for a head that shoots ninja throwing stars out of its eyes. We have a giant squid monster that has to decapitate aliens in order to get giant. We have ladies who want to eat children's brains.
I am trying my best to hold my composure.
Yeah.
We have a shark with a xylophone on its back that can fly. We have lady superheroes coming up.
This is amazing. This is just getting more and more.
The Gamera gets way out there.
That ending of this one, though, that's pretty high.
This is a 6, and by the end of the Gamera series, we're at like 15.
Well, we're gonna jump ahead later, and when you see the other ones, you'll know how crazy the last one could get.
Yeah. So Parker, you've seen Gamera before. You're more familiar with Gamera. How did you get
Same thing kind of was like watching it on TV, and I saw like a random VHS one time. I can't remember which one it was. And then I just thought it was like a knockoff Godzilla, you know. Same with Q. But I was more in the camp of like, oh, he's kind of a turtle. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, he can fly. Oh, that's even better. And then I found out that he could fly like a jet, and that was even cooler. And yeah, I don't know. It's just I like Godzilla. You know, and that's kind of where me and Q always draw the argument, Godzilla or Gamera. And Godzilla has the bigger presence, and definitely got more popular. Gamera kind of just stays in the shadows, but you know, it still has a following.
I can say that, like I said, I can definitely appreciate Gamera now.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about blues music earlier today, and I guess you could kind of say, now Howling Wolf is my favorite, but I think in terms of general popularity, you could say that Godzilla's Muddy Waters, he's what he's what people think of when they think of the genre. He's kind of the king, and Howlin' Wolf is Gamera, that, you know, he's got his diehards, his ride or dies, but for the most part, people think of him as the second tier.
Not to say that after this, you know, I own both albums. You know, I own Howlin' Wolf albums, and I own Muddy, so now I'm going.
So we're trying to turn him just a little bit of having a little more appreciation.
Buy me some Gamera movies, because that was amazing.
I mean, Atomic Breath is cool, but opening your chest to unleash a nuclear blast from it, that's pretty dope.
I mean, if Godzilla goes burning, his whole body becomes a nuclear.
I mean, at one point, I mean, not to ruin it, but you know, in the last one, Gamera loses an appendage and then summons fire to be that appendage, and then pierces said monster with fire appendage. I mean, that's like the epitome.
That's metal.
I don't want to swear, but that's cool.
Yeah,
like,
that's
you know,
metal.
I was up at toy shop in Austin, and they had a figure of that Gamera, the SH Monster Arts.
Oh yeah, okay.
With the fire hand, and I was like, ooh, and then I saw it was $160. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I like those, and they're worth the buy, because you know you can put them and play them. I saw one recently that I want to get. I didn't know they were a thing. I forget what it's called, but it's a figure of like an action figure, and it's, you know, static. You can pose it, and then there's one for Godzilla, there's one for Gamera. And it's the suit, and you can put the figure in it.
And I've seen those.
And then you can pose them however you want, and then you can kind of, you know, recreate that shot where it's like coming out of the suit, and you know, you can put the hands on it, and it's made of like, you know, soft rubber, and they're just very articulate, and they look really cool. And I just discovered those. You know, again, same kind of price range, $100, $120.
I saw that. I don't know if y'all have seen Monster Island Buddies on YouTube. He has a main show that is fine, but which is him just doing like soap opera stuff with Godzilla toys.
Okay, I'll have to give that a look.
What he does best, what I like best, is he does toy and video game reviews, where he just talks about Godzilla toys and Godzilla video games. And he talked about those Microman suit figures. Apparently, they're really difficult to get the guy in there.
Oh, I'm sure.
But they look so cool.
Yeah. They're really, you know, it's almost like having a mini version of, you know, what they were using.
Little Haruo Nakajima.
Oh, yeah.
In your pocket.
A literal monster in my pocket. That's reference.
Yeah. But so, yeah, this is Gamera. I first found him through Mystery Science Theater. I think a lot of people.
Yeah, and you told me, and I had seen, you know, Mystery Science Theater, and I never knew there was a Gamera one, because, you know, I would catch it on Sci-Fi, like late night. So you'd see the more obscure ones, the movies that they did, and I was like, oh yeah, this is neat, this is cool. But yeah, like I said, I never knew there was a Gamera one.
Yeah, they actually did 5 of the original Gamera movies.
That's awesome.
And that's how I discovered it. But when I was watching it, I was like, you know, this is actually pretty cool. Like, I got to check this out. And I vaguely remembered when I was, you know, like maybe 6 or 7, I rented Gamera Guardian of the Universe, the first of the Heisei Gamera movies. And I kind of dismissed it. I liked it, but ultimately dismissed it. It was like, oh, it's just a Godzilla knockoff. that's clearly supposed to be Godzilla and that's supposed to be Rodan.
Yeah.
But I rewatched it recently. I've rewatched it many times.
They hold up pretty good.
They're pretty good.
They hold up really well. Especially like the last ones, with the considering when they came out and like the special effects.
Yeah.
For the monsters.
Yeah. But as we're embarking on the show of Gameras, I'm real excited to see what if you flipped out at Plan Z.
I flipped out. I'm still trying to believe that nothing's going to top the ending of this movie. But what you just said, I guess I was looking really forward to seeing this.
Because you were just like, oh, that's not gonna hold him. And I was like, wait.
That's not going to. What's that? An egg? Just like put it in the camera.
Doesn't need to hold him for that long. It was, yeah.
Yeah, they put my boy in a rocket and just shit him off the space.
Hey, I can't get rid of you can't handle your problems. Get rid of him.
So yeah, Gamera invented Pokemon.
Yeah, he was the first Pokemon apparently.
They put him in a big old Pokeball and just launched him across the field.
Yeah.
Gamera, I choose you to go to Mars. Yeah, no, and it's funny. I think I talked about it a little bit while we were watching the movie that a movie that is black and white, one monster rampage, got so much traction, was so popular when it was first released, but like you said, Q, when we were watching it, just like, can you imagine being like a guy taking his kid to the movies in 1965 and
colors already out?
Yeah,
it is black and white, and you're like, okay, whatever, and then the turtle starts spinning around.
Yeah,
I think
flying.
The ridiculousness of it might have saved Gamer, because if that didn't do too well, he might have he would have fallen into obscurity, I think. But being able to fly like a saucer
that's crazy, man.
and eat fire kind of brought it back.
Yeah, it's just completely nutty. Oh shoot, where's his name? Yeah, guys, I don't. All the names I say, they're not from the top of my head. I write this stuff down and I can't find the guy who directed this movie's name.
You gotta highlight the stuff.
I should. Yeah. But the director of this movie, he was a special effects director initially, and no one else would direct it.
Oh wow!
So he just kind of
took the reins.
And he wanted to make it a straight up kids movie, and that's why he introduced Toshio and the little turtle and stuff to make it more relatable. Apparently, at this time, I was reading, turtles were just like hugely popular pets in Japan. Like kids like trade turtles on the playground and stuff. And
cool.
There's even an episode of Ultra Q about it from the next year, like just kids taking turtles to school.
So kids were doing Pokemon before Pokemon was a thing.
With turtles.
Gamera
invented Pokemon. I keep telling you.
That's pretty cool.
Okay.
But
yeah.
Should bring that back. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start doing that.
Just give people turtles.
There's a starter turtle for you, and a starter turtle for you.
Everybody gets the Squirtle.
But so he knew turtles were popular with kids. He's like, we should just make this a straight up kids movie. And they were like, no, these are usually family films, and we want to make a more adult oriented one.
Okay.
And so that's why the movie kind of like goes back and forth, like.
Yeah, like it's kind of kid friendly. Gamera kills a few hundred people.
Yeah. They make that compromise, right?
The balance, right?
Happiness and murder. Whoa! Can't spell slaughter without laughing people,
Kid just like keeps showing up in military meetings. He's like, all turtles are good.
Yeah, he got in on those. He's just like, Gamera's my friend. Son Gamera killed some people today. What?
Yeah. Gamera did bad today.
But in the next Gamera movie, they went all in on like an adult audience or a general audience, and kids apparently were bored running around in the theater like between the monster scenes, and so then the third Gamera movie, they're like, okay, you were right, we'll do for kids, and then it just escalated. Noriaka Yuasa, I found it. That's his name, Noriaka Yuasa. He was the director of this. And they bumped him out of the director's chair for the second one.
Okay.
And had him just do special effects. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get to that movie soon enough.
Yeah, because you said it takes place right after this one.
Like exactly after.
Like minutes after this one ends. Plan Z fails.
So, all right, so that's the discussion. And when we come back, we'll play the Gamera game, which is called, for kids. All right.
Pounding across the motion picture screen comes the most terrifying monster of them all. Gamera, the Invincible. Gamera, the super monster that even the H-bomb cannot destroy. Gamera, the Invincible. Attention everyone! Hey, Gamera, consuming raw atomic power. Power to destroy entire cities. Open fire! Man's most destructive weapons have no effect on Gamera, the Invincible. The mightiest nuclear weapons ever devised are powerless against Gamera, the Invincible. Is humanity doomed? Will the world be destroyed? The United Nations is called to emergency session in a last desperate effort to save the world.
We have one plan that we think might work. We have discussed Plan Z with the Japanese authorities, and they agree it is the best of our alternative plans. Is that correct, sir?
That is so. Plan Z is hope of the world.
A cast of thousands at the mercy of the most terrifying monster that ever lived. Brian Donlevy as General Arnold.
Is beyond comprehension. He must be stopped now.
Albert Decker as the Secretary of Defense. Will Plan Z stop Gamera? Gamera, the Invincible.
Hello, and welcome back to Record All Monsters, where we're about to play the game, for kids, with Parker and Q. Now, that quote is from the Hudsucker Proxy. Have y'all seen that?
No.
Coen Brothers movie?
It sounds familiar.
This guy takes the world by storm with an invention, and he just keeps drawing a circle and showing it to people and saying, for kids. And eventually, like halfway through the movie, it's revealed that it's a hula hoop.
Okay.
It's
I'll have to add that to the watch list.
It's very funny, very dry Coen Brothers-y humor. So like if you've seen Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Just that kind of like very intense deadpan. All right. So Gamera is a movie that suffers a little bit from tonal whiplash, a grim Godzilla imitator in some scenes, and a family-friendly, child-focused adventure film in others. Like if E.T. was a gigantic turtle who killed people. This got me thinking about things that are for kids, but maybe shouldn't be. Or maybe work better when oriented towards adults. So in today's game, for kids, I'll ask you whether or not you believe that a particular R-rated or otherwise adult-oriented franchise has an iteration made explicitly for children. There are no prizes, which sucks, I'm so sorry. But there's also no penalties, so I feel like it kind of evens out.
There you go.
Okay, first question. Is there a version of the Rocky Horror Picture Show for kids?
False.
I'm gonna say false.
No, there isn't. You're both correct. A point for each of you.
Nice.
Although there was a Glee episode that spotlighted songs from Rocky Horror, I don't think it was very good. From what I've heard, I never watched Glee.
Me either.
Alright, second question. Has the Rambo franchise ever had a kid-friendly iteration?
I think there was a cartoon. Yes, true.
I'm gonna say. I'll say no.
No. Parker gets the point. Yes, there was
What?
a Rambo franchise for children.
Because there was action figures.
In 1986, there was an animated series called Rambo, The Force of Freedom, which ran 65 episodes and spawned a line of toys.
Yeah, I remember seeing the toys. The toys were, because they wouldn't have made Rambo movie action figures. Head popping action.
Decapitation action.
Yeah.
Third question. Was there ever media in the Alien franchise intended for children?
I'm
False. Wait, no.
What's that? Question one more time?
Was there ever media in the Alien franchise that was intended for children?
That's kind of weird. When you say media, you mean like toys?
Well, like cartoons. Because there's the movies, but...
I'd say no. I would say false.
I mean, it's a very gray area. There's games. Does that count? True?
This one is kind of a trick question. You both get a point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I know that there's games and action figures, so...
Well, in 1992, Fox began production on an animated series called Operation Alien, which would have followed as a direct sequel to Cameron's 1986 film Aliens.
Okay.
But the third film, Alien 3, bombed, so Fox put all their eggs in the X-Men and Batman animated series baskets, and Operation Aliens never aired. But Kenner had started making a line of toys, and they released them anyway, so it's kind of a mess.
Yeah.
But there is and there isn't. Mm-hmm. All right. Fourth question. Did Danny Trejo's character from the Machete movies ever appear in children's media?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Both get a point. Because Machete actually first appeared in 2001 Spy Kids, and he was in all the sequels as well.
Yeah.
All right, this is our final question. Q, you can tie it, and if you do, we have to go to a tiebreaker question, which I'll make up off the top of my head.
Okay.
And Parker, you can win decisively. Was Freddy Krueger ever the star of a children's series?
False.
I'll say false.
You're both correct. There was never a Freddy Krueger children's TV show.
It's like Muppet Freddy Krueger babies.
However, there was a TV spin-off of Nightmare on Elm Street called Freddy's Nightmares that aired for 2 seasons in syndication between 1988 and 1990. It was not for kids, though.
I mean, we got Scary Terry.
It's like, Are You Afraid of the Dark with Nightmare on Elm Street?
So... That's the game, Parker. You win.
2 for 2.
I tied it up.
No, you could, if he had lost, if he had gotten it wrong,
yes,
you would have tied
2
it
for
up.
2.
So, again, no prizes, no penalties, so it doesn't really matter.
Q gets to buy me Wingstop later. That's the prize.
That's when our neighbor slams the door.
Oh, okay.
It goes. So that's it. Thank you guys for coming on today.
It was great.
Yeah,
This
Had
was
a great
thing.
time.
It's a privilege.
And hopefully we can have you back for a few more episodes.
Oh, man,
We'll put here whatever you
More
need.
Gamera movies, more Godzilla movies.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Any kaiju films.
Let's talk trash about the Megalon movie. And how...
in that truck.
Oh, God. That's the best part of that movie. That one and all the reused shots.
Yeah.
Even one, I don't know if you caught it. You might know about it. That shot with Sanda in it.
Oh, from more of the Gargantuas. Yeah.
They took that from that back, far back.
Like 10 years old at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should definitely have y'all on for the War of the Gargantua episodes. We're going to close out the game show, and I'll be back to tell y'all how to contact the show and everything, and it'll be mere seconds to you. But it could be like a month from now, for all I know.
From the future.
Speaking to you from the past, this is Robert Kelly with Record All Monsters, and you'll hear more sign-off stuff in just a second. So that was Gamera. Now, I love the Gamera movies. I know we talk about how silly they are, but that's exactly why I love them. They're silly, they embrace everything ridiculous about the genre. And like we said to Q, it's just gonna get crazier. If you're not familiar with Gamera, oh boy, we got some stuff to do. This past week I appeared on the Middle Class Film Class podcast briefly to give my opinion on Colossal and kind of a crash course in giant monster movie history. And so I recommend you check that out, because I had some fun there. Now, next week we're going to have, I'm going to go ahead and announce it, We are having a gargantuan Gamera giveaway to tie in with this week's episode. What's going to happen is, first of all, the prize is the winner will receive the complete Gamera Showa era on DVD. And they're the Shout Factory DVDs from about 10 years ago. They are used, but they're all in good condition. I've played them all before. They look great. And the Gamera Heisei trilogy on Blu-ray. And once again, it's used, but in good condition. These things go for... The Shout Factory ones go for about $35, $40 on eBay, or $60-ish on Amazon, and that Blu-ray of the Heisei era series goes for like $75, $80. I've seen it for $100. But the winner of our Gargantuan Gamera giveaway will get this free. In addition to the Gamera films, all of them except Gamera the Brave, which I tried to get in a way that was, not too expensive on my end, because the winner will get these shipped to them for free. And I just couldn't get it on its own. But the Gargantuan Gamera giveaway prizes will also include a couple of other things that I'm very, very happy to tell you about. First of all, like I said, the movies. All the movies, except Gamera the Brave. You'll also win a Record All Monsters t-shirt that you can select, or you can let me select. I have designed a special t-shirt for the winner, if they so choose. It'll be one of a kind. You'll be the only person who can have it. And finally, you will win. Oh, and that will ship separately from the rest of the stuff. It's going to ship direct to you from our TeePublic store. And finally, you'll win the love and respect of your peers. And I can't guarantee that, but you will receive a certificate saying that you are entitled to it. So, that's what's coming up next week. You will have about a month you'll have about a month from the Gargantuan Gamera giveaway official announcement next week to the winner being announced, which will be the Gargantuan Gamera giveaway part 2, and we'll do that after we cover Gamera's second film, Gamera vs. Barugan. So buckle up, get ready. Next week we're going to tell you exactly how you can enter to win. There will be one grand prize winner. In the meantime, between those two movies and the giveaway, we're going to look at Monster Zero, aka Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, aka Invasion of Astro Monster, and have a conversation with Monster Kid Radio host and Monster Kid Hall of Fame inductee Derek M. Cook. That was a fun conversation. And then we'll have another Record All Monsters special, talking about our memories of Godzilla on VHS. And if you have any memories you want to send in encountering those movies on VHS, you can email us at recordallmonsterspod@gmail.com, or send us a message on Twitter, where we can be found at MonstersRecord, or on Instagram, where we're at recordallmonsters.pod. You can even send us a message on our Facebook page, which comes up when you search Record All Monsters Podcast on Facebook. And the week after that, we're going to be talking about The Magic Serpent, with a couple of quick mentions of the Daimajin trilogy. Thanks to Ben Garza for hooking us up with that. And, but it's not going to get a full episode, but it will be mentioned. We'll talk about it. That episode, we're going to be talking about kind of this detour into feudal Japan these movies took in the mid-'60s for a year. And we'll be talking with our language consultant, Henri Hata. She's a good friend of mine personally, and she's been extremely helpful in this show. I've shouted her out a few times. She lets me know how to pronounce things, keys me into some cultural sensitivity stuff to make sure I'm not sounding like a jackass. So you have all that to look forward to in the weeks coming up. And of course, you need to remember between now and then that monsters are your friends.